Malachy, what did you make of Kerry turning that around?
It's odd, isn't it? It was an odd turnaround. At half time, I kind of thought that they were being sort of outplayed by a team that knew what it was at.
As in Tyrone or further down the line, more grizzled
Absolutely,
team with their game plan.
yeah. Their game plan seemed to be working. McShane had them on a string at full forward, and Kerry's the huge gap that Kerry always leave between their midfield and their full back line. They were hanging Jason Foley out to dry on McShane, and it looked like it was hard to see where they were going to get a change out of. And they weren't scoring themselves. Like they weren't getting Gainey into it. They weren't getting Clifford into it. Tyrone were bottling them up. Changes made a big difference, I think you have to say. Like I think Jack Sherwood did plenty when he came on.
Yeah,
like
midfield instead of Adrian.
Bit of force going forward. I thought Tommy Walsh made a big difference. Like he initially came on and went and stood at full forward, and Colin Kavanagh went back on him. But he basically played as a third midfielder for the last 15 minutes. Called kickouts on himself, and no, he wasn't. It's not like he took 4 great catches or anything like that, but Tyrone needed the oxygen of the ball at that time, and he got in there, disrupted it. He won one, he disrupted another. I thought he did very well, and like in the end, when you were looking at the game beforehand, what are Kerry good at? They're good at putting up a score. O'Brien, Gainey, Clifford, O'Shea. I think that was all of their scores outside of one, maybe. I think apart from those 4 players, I think there might have been 1 point outside of those 4 players.
Yeah,
and so that's. Killian Spillane didn't have a great game after having scored 3 points from play in each of his last 2 games. But when the turnaround was needed, O'Brien and Clifford. Like Clifford was, for a guy that was supposed to be injured, was brilliant. Like once the game sort of loosened up and Kerry needed scores, their accuracy went through the roof in the second half compared to what it had been in the first half.
So if you look at how Tyrone had the game in the palm of their hands, 9 points to 5 up, getting lots of ball into Cathal McShane, 1-on-1.
Yes.
Might I suggest that if the whole game plan is based on you getting the ball 1-on-1 inside, you should probably actually do more than score 4 points from play.
A bit of,
because he never took his man on to go for a goal.
There's a bit of that, yeah. Now he was fouled a couple of times, and he took his own frees. I thought that he and they lost a bit of confidence when he missed a free, and then had another wide soon after it, and their dominance is the wrong word, but their upper hand proved to be a very fragile thing.
The momentum swung wildly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like because it was a game, and definitely for the first sort of 15 minutes of the second half, it was a game. Both sides were only scoring frees. I think Gainey had 1 point from play, but it was between Sean O'Shea and Cathal McShane. And then he missed a free, and he put one wide. And at that point, Tyrone revealed themselves as a team that were depending on him far too much, and that's fine. You depend on him an awful lot when he is destroying Jason Foley as he was in the first half and getting scores from it. But when the scores started to dry up and Kerry started scoring at the other end, it all proved really fragile. And in about a 6 or 7 minute period, Kerry scored 1-3, and like a game that had been like seriously tight, just got away from Tyrone completely. And like it's funny, I was previewing the game during the week, and in the end I went for Tyrone essentially on the basis that they have been here. This was their fifth semi-final in 7 years. They're 4th in 5 years. They have a lot of guys who played in all those games, Morgan, Colin Kavanagh, Peter Hart, Matty Donnelly, Niall Sludden has been around, and then they have their sort of 5 or 6 interchangeable guys, McCrory, McNamee, McNabb, all these guys, that pop up. Conor McCalskey came on, Darren McCurry came on. All these guys who had they been in, had Tyrone gone forward to the final, that I would have been holding up as, proof positive that they can't beat Dublin in the final. And yet, the way I looked at it during the week, I kind of looked at it as, well, these guys know how to play in a semi-final. They know what it's like. They know when the air gets rare, how to come through it. And Kerry are very young. Like so many of that Kerry team, that today was their first ever senior win in Croke Park.
And a novice senior manager as well.
A novice senior manager in his first All-Ireland semi-final. You go through that Kerry team. Gavin Crowley, of their younger players, is probably the only one who has been on a winning team in Croke Park. He came on late in the league final in 2017 against Dublin. Remember, Diarmuid Connolly got a black card. He goaded Diarmuid Connolly into a black card out of nowhere. But all the rest of them, like Clifford, Sean Shea, the Spillans, Tom Sullivan, Jason Foley, Shane Ryan. The last time these guys won in Croke Park, they were minors, And so today is their sort of graduation day. But I talked myself into beforehand the fact that Tyrone's experience would see them through, and it didn't. It turns out that they have experience. This is their fifth semi-final in 7 years. They've now lost 4 of them. They only won 1 of them.
When did they last beat a big team?
Well, this is the thing. This is
a challenger now in Croke Park or at the latter stage.
I have been compiling this stat with far too much relish for the last 5 or 6 years. The last time they beat either Dublin, Kerry or Mayo was in 2008, when they beat all 3 of them in the space of 6 weeks to win the All-Ireland.
And you relish it as a Monaghan man?
Sadly, yes.
Yeah,
you are who you are. Yeah. We are who we are. But I even had it in my preview for the game. I said, look, someday they're going to beat one of these 3. It's not going to go on forever. You can't play at the level that Tyrone play every year in, year out. But Tyrone's the flaw that I've always seen in them, and I talked myself out of it ahead of this game. Tyrone can beat any Ulster team you like. Mickey Hart's been in charge for, let me get this right, 17 years, 17 seasons, and only one of those seasons has ended with an Ulster team putting them out of the All-Ireland. It's always Dublin, it's always Tyrone, it's always Mayo, it's always Kerry. So they've played Dublin, Kerry and Mayo 11 times since 2008 and lost all 11.
So that sounds like it's always the more expansive teams because, Ulster is so often here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can I make a point about the 2 management teams? Like in the first half, Kerry had plenty of wides. Clifford had a few. Paul Ganey had 1. Sean O'Shea had a couple. Paul Murphy. They had 2 shots blocked down and another one hit the post. In the second half, that turned around completely. Whereas Tyrone were in good shape in the first half. In the second half, to take off Niall Sludden, who'd scored a couple.
Yeah, he wasn't a bit happy about it.
Wasn't a bit happy at all.
Yeah.
The Cathal McShane thing stopped working really. Matty Donnelly didn't really get in the game.
Didn't get into the game.
One bad wide as well. It felt like just the second half, Kerry got everything right from the start of the second half by taking off Adrian Spillane and taking off Shane Enright, bringing on Gavin White, who I wouldn't say set the world alight, but Jack Sherwood, who played really well.
And I'll tell you what Gavin White did do towards the end. Gavin White gave Shane Ryan a kick-out option. I think 3 out of the last 5 kickouts, or maybe 2 out of the last 4, got the jump. Like when in those closing minutes, when Tyrone had everybody, like they'd pushed so many people up. Niall Morgan was playing in midfield for the Kerry kickout, and Gavin White got away from his man twice to give Shane Ryan a short kickout, and even that you're going to if you're Tyrone were really pressing up because they needed a goal, and yet they gave up 3 really simple short kickouts.
Yeah. And it just completely released the pressure.
Totally.
But those factors that I had mentioned, which were things on the line, combined with the fact that Tyrone didn't even press up really high on the kick-out until quite late on when the game got away from them.
Yeah.
Is that not, to some degree, losing the game on the line?
Essentially, yeah.
Are they a cautious team to their detriment?
They absolutely are. They're an Ulster team. There's no getting away from it. They're an Ulster team. Ulster teams, look, they run out of road at this point in the year almost always, you know.
But Donegal showed that you can win Ulster by being attacking. So surely if they use that as a proving ground to be attacking, and it came against them against Donegal this year, surely that's what they need to do from the get-go. Just be a bit more of an aggressive team.
You would think so. And look, they played Matty Donnelly up, but even that, Tyrone's version of playing an attacking game is leaving 2 forwards up rather than 1. You know, the teams that are in the All-Ireland final play with 3 forwards as much as they can, and sometimes 4. You know, this was a bad defeat for Tyrone. They had the game. They had Kerry sort of strangled, and yet that old flaw, that old caution. Look, Mickey's there such a long time. You know, how many new tricks can they be expected to learn, you know?
Well, Mickey Hart said downstairs that, you know, he's ready to go again.
Of course he is.
If you were a Tyrone fan, and it seems up there that, like, whatever way the delegates vote or whatever way it goes, he's untouchable. But, like, for the average Tyrone fan looking in for next year, like, would you feel any optimism?
Well, it depends where you set your bar, you know.
Ireland is
in a 5 in a row Dubs world, what's success? Like, is it getting to this point? Is it getting to finals? I think Tyrone will be back in an All-Ireland semi-final next year, probably. You know, they'll definitely be in the Super 8s. They know what they're about, but it doesn't work here. It doesn't. Like, it's been shown so many times that it doesn't. It's not. They don't have enough in them to win an All-Ireland, and shown today, like, they shouldn't be letting a young Kerry team beat them like that.
How much of, like, there are plenty of factors that contribute to there being 33,000 people here at this game. How much is it Tyrone fans being disaffected with what they're seeing?
It's hard to know. There was a lot of talk during the week. You always get a sense out of Croke Park during the week what they're expecting for Sunday. And there was definitely talk of 50 to 60,000 coming to this. I do think, like, last night had an effect.
But you would imagine that more tickets will be sold earlier in the week so that wouldn't have had enough time to have the same impact.
Maybe people bought them and just didn't come.
Maybe.
It's hard to know. But, like, there was definitely, if you were outside in the hour beforehand, there was lads with 4 tickets, 5, any amount of tickets you wanted on sale outside. I think just, like, there is a general pall over the championship because Dublin are so far ahead, and the one team that people had convinced themselves were able to live with them got destroyed in the space of 10 minutes last night. So if you were on the fence, if you were last night in Strabane, which is you're a good 2.5, 3 hour drive away, or you were in, let's not even say Dingle or Waterville, but let's say even Killarney, you're still 4 hours away, and you're watching that last night, are you really going to get in your car this morning to come up here? You know,
not really.
not a huge you'll come for the final, like, but, but I do think that had an element to play in it, because otherwise, put it this way, had Mayo won last night, I think it would have been a fair crowd here today.
Yeah. Oh, look, a huge walk-up crowd, or buying tickets outside.
Yeah.
That was not much better than the Tyrone versus Dublin B game that you were at last week.
No. And the atmosphere was appalling, wasn't it? Yeah. It was
before
really
the game,
so quiet. Yeah.
This is an All-Ireland semi-final.
It felt like a league semi-final.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like
a runners-up competition.
Everybody turn up and sure, what odds, you know? It was a depressing day. Like, I've written a column for tomorrow. You know, going, look. And you have to preface everything with going, look, it's not the Dubs' fault, and they can only do what they can only do, and everybody else, blah blah blah. But, like, it's depressing, you know.
Do you know, it's like talking about Conor McGregor in a way. Look, he's a great fighter, but he's letting the country down constantly. You have to preface everything with it's not
there is
their
a
fault.
bit of that.
But one team, and it's not their fault because you still have to say it, is killing the championship.
Well, the championship is dying. Like, it's just it's so hard for people to get excited for it. You know, look, I think most people will go on. Like, I kind of want them to win the final now. You know, the story would be amazing if Kerry uprooted them, but I almost kind of think like they have been the best team of the decade by such a street. Let them go and win the final by 15 points and allow it. You know, let them crown the era the way it almost ought to be.
It's gone to a stage where, like, geez, I just hope it's a game for a half hour anyway.
Is
that not a depressing state?
Well, or worse again, for people, I've grown up watching football all my life. I never thought I'd get to the point where the country would be yearning for a good Kerry team to come along.
Yeah. Because they've rubbed people up the wrong way for 100 years. And then all of a sudden, if you were to make any analysis of the game last night, it was a good game for the first half, Mayo.
Oh, sure. It was brilliant.
It was stressful to watch.
Oh, yeah. The occasion was amazing. The tension was fantastic. What more do you want out of life? You know, we were here. But it's such a lesson in again how precarious that was. Because it took nothing to blow that away. And even with your awe at how at somebody like Con O'Callaghan, at somebody like Brian Fenton, the air just went out of the stadium.
Yeah, completely. In the space of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you just knew, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
It's actually it. Because Paddy Durcan had a chance to...
Yes.
Was it stretched the lead to maybe 2? Whatever it was
at
the time.
Dropped short.
Yeah. And then it's actually just like today. Kieran McGeary got stripped at the ball.
That's
straight
right,
up the other end.
Yeah.
Stephen O'Brien goal. And it just completely changes the game. But obviously, Dublin are like Kilkenny of old. They'll just hit you a rat-a-tat.
Bang, bang, bang.
It's game over. And air sucked out of the place.
You will remember better than me the feeling in the hurling world at the end of the noughties when Kilkenny had 4 in a row, when these games, when they were like the All Irelands in 07, 08, when they had Limerick and Waterford beating out the gate inside 10 minutes. It was as joyless as this.
Yeah.
Like, I do hear like Dublin fans saying, you know, nobody was saying this when Kilkenny were. People were saying this. It's just that hurling is a smaller sport, and people in Dub football fans didn't take any notice of the fact that, you know, there was like it was as joyless for the general hurling community as this, wasn't it? Like, it was.
But also the championship as a whole was pretty terrible for a number
That's
of years.
true, yeah.
You just kept waiting for a number of years, even like 9, 10, 11, around then, until, okay, we'll wait till Tip meet Kilkenny and at least we'll have a good game then. It's only in the last 3 years, 2013 of course was fabulous as well, but it's only the last couple of years that all of a sudden it's a really level playing field. But of course the Dublin problem is it's from a different collection of issues.
Well, it is it's an existential thing. You know, it's that people aren't just mourning for the state of the championship now. They're sort of mourning for the fact that they don't see it changing. Like, even when Kilkenny won their 4 in a row and the 2008 final, obviously the absolute apogee of that team, like, people still knew that, you know, this, like, hurling will right itself, because, you know, Kilkenny can't go on like that. They were an obviously legendary bunch. Whereas, and the thing is, people could be wrong about this. We could all be wrong. We could be. Look, this Kerry team might win the next 4. They won't win the next 4, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know for certain that, but it does feel that Dublin will win 6 out of the next 10 or 6 out of the next 8 or something like that.
It's just even looking at the club championship in Dublin, it's just on another level. And like, clubs are so professional. There's a few clubs that have their own like video rooms to do analysis sessions, and it's like an auditorium style room. And I just see the level of conditioning in club players across the county who aren't even near the top 50.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, and you see these teams getting, just even in the group stages, and you're looking at these monsters all across the field, and you're like, that's not happening in other places. Because down the country, if you're anyway talented, you're never really going to have to push yourself.
That's a bit of it, yeah.
You don't have, like, you'd often have 50 players at club training sessions
during
the summer, height of the summer, and they're all clawing at each other to get in at the team, and everyone's doing extra gym sessions, and I mean that is the culture in Dublin, and it just isn't like at home in Monaghan.
Oh yeah.
If he's a good player, he's on the team, and that's it.
Of course, yeah. Like
you need him. You'll beg him to come.
Oh man, like there was a bit of excitement last night in the intermediate club championship in Monaghan. Clonus beat this team called Toome, Toome, who are the smallest of the smallest of the small, and I think there's only 27 clubs up there. But there was slight rejoicing online in Monaghan GA Twitter for the fact that a young lad called James Wilson, and Toome are like a junior club, but he played a full championship game last night, and like this guy is he is seen as, if he might, because he had a bad injury last year, but like Oisín McConville has had him with the Dundalk IT, and Oisín, I even said the word, like he's like a young Canavan,
Right.
and so like there was this and so like like the football community in Monaghan are going, we have to protect this lad, we have to get this lad. Like he hasn't even, I think he has played maybe one senior inter-county game at this stage. Like, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. Like.
Whereas Bernard Brogan can't get into the 26.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you were Bernard Brogan, would you, or any other player that isn't getting into the 26, and you see Diarmuid Connolly getting in there, do you think there's a little bit of poison bubbling underneath the surface from some players that have, let's be honest, been pushed to the side for a guy who was happy to go away?
I don't know if it's poison, but it's,
you'd be seething, like you would be.
Yeah, but like,
furious.
But Gavin doesn't do things by accident,
Yeah, I'd imagine he's the sort of manager who keeps a massive distance from his players.
Yeah.
He's very aloof to the media anyway, as we've known for years. But I would imagine that any sort of players manager, someone like Derek McGrath seems a players manager, Liam Sheedy seems a players manager. There are plenty of examples of that. But only a guy who keeps his distance from the panel could possibly do that, because no one's going to come up to him pally anyway.
But it's obviously, it is the culture of the place. Like, it is a ruthless culture. It's bound to be. Like, you don't become the sort of ruthless killers that they are on the pitch without hothousing it over a period of years in training. And that's the culture of the place. Like, not even just Bernard Brogan. Like, somebody like Darren Daly has been there throughout. Like, has always one of the 26, Darren Daly. Like, the guy has played 5-6 All-Ireland medals. He's been there since the start of the Gilroy year. He came on in a couple of games in Leinster earlier this year. You haven't seen sight nor sound of him in the last couple of Super 8s. Doesn't make the 26. Like, there's a guy who has devoted the whole of his 20s to being a Dublin panel member, and now a month short of the 5 in a row, can't get in the 26. It's a absolutely ruthless place.
Before one of the games, I saw a group of the Dublin players who weren't in the 26 standing outside the Hogan stand before the game. It just felt so weird that they weren't even part of what was happening on the day.
Yeah.
Can you make, the whole build-up this week to Mayo against Dublin was all about how can Mayo beat Dublin? Because everyone knows that Dublin runs like clockwork. Is the next couple of weeks going to be all about how can we possibly make a case for Kerry winning?
I don't think so. I think it's just going to be 5 in a row. I don't think anybody can make a coherent case for Kerry winning. I think in a way, last night feels like the real death knell for everybody else. Do you know what I mean? Even though this Mayo team isn't the Mayo team, isn't close to being the best version of the Mayo team. But I think in the general sort of mind, I think last night has taken any sense of romance out of it. And like, it would be a lovely notion that a band of young Kerry lads could come and do it. But my sense of it, it's 2 weeks to go. My sense of it, and I don't know how I will change from this in the meantime, is that there are a grand set of young fellas who are going to be a very good team at some stage, and will, whenever the inner row ends, probably be the ones who end it. But I think they're going to get a fair pasting for themselves in the final to take forward and learn from in years to come.
You've had an interesting stat on the average age in the Irish Times.
Oh yeah. This is the thing. This is the first year the Dublin team has got older. Like, that has been Gavin's most amazing job, is to win a 4 in a row with the team getting younger or staying the same every year. But the team, like the Dublin team last night, was actually older than the Mayo team.
Yeah.
You know, everybody goes, Mayo are gone, Mayo are done, they're old stagers. And look, the next few months, a few of them will obviously hang it up, you would imagine. But their starting team last night was younger than the Dublin starting team, and the 15 that finished was younger than the Dublin 15 that finished. Now, it's marginal, it's a matter of decimal points. But the team that won, the Dublin team that started the last year's All-Ireland final was an average age of 26.2 years. The Dublin team that finished last night had an average age of 28.3. Now, that's what's supposed to happen. Teams are supposed to get older the longer they go on. But Dublin it has been such an amazing job out of Gavin, year by year by year, bringing a new guy on, dispatching your Bernard Brogans, your Paul Flynns, your Dennis Bastics. They've gone by the wayside over the years. But this is the first year that they've got older. It's the first year that there's no new player.
Yeah.
There's no Niall Scully, there's no Owen Marchand, there's no Brian Howard, there's no new guy. Even like Paddy Small was the sort of newest face who came on in every game. He didn't get on last night. Instead, he's gone back to Connolly. He's gone back to Rory O'Carroll. He's gone back to Paddy Andrews. Well, Kevin McManaman didn't get on last night. I don't know this, but I get the sense that I think he's done. I think he's going to do. I don't know this, but I think he's going to do the final and walk. Jim Gavin. I kind of think that they're just everything that has been involved this year. He is just. It has been It looks from the outside. He will never say this, but it looks from the outside like it's get the 5 in a row over the line, and I think this is a pure guess, but I think he might walk after it. But they're getting older for the first time. So, who knows? Maybe as they get older and Kerry come along with a young team, maybe for the 2020 final, that will be the deciding factor. But I don't think it's going to be in 2 weeks.
If you had a choice between one of these two players to be on your team, or who is better player, Con O'Callaghan or David Clifford?
No. I think Clifford is the more talented. I think Con is extraordinary. I think his nose for goal is phenomenal. I think Dublin are using him in the right way this year, which they didn't. Like Con last year was a working centre forward, doing a lot of leg work back up the pitch for his team. This year he's the point of the spear. But I think Clifford. I think Clifford could turn out to be one of the greats, one of the all-time greats. Like he was out of that game today for long periods. He still ended with 5 points, 4 from play, and like the 4 from play were
glorious, weren't they?
They were glorious scores, and he's a really really quality player. And Con is a different sort of guy. Like Con is. Con is a goal machine, and he is a bullet of a human being, and he has made himself into a savage weapon as a footballer. I don't know. There's just something almost more aesthetically pleasing about Clifford. It's an unfair distinction to make.
I'd say they'll spend the next 7 or 8 years talking about these two lads.
You would imagine, yeah.
And the final word then on Mayo. Do you think?
Yeah.
Like 7 games in 8 weeks is completely unfair against the Dublin team that, because it was B teams out against Tyrone and Armagh, in Omagh, they had a lovely break coming in. It wasn't two teams playing on an equal footing.
No, but look, they're not even teams. you know, that wasn't what beat Mayo. What beat Mayo was, you know, they're undergoing change. They're, as I said, they were younger than Dublin for the first time in, could be 5, 6, 7, 8 years. The other thing with Mayo is that up until 9 days ago, when they beat Donegal, nobody was seriously talking about an All-Ireland for them. Nobody was. Like, people were sort of beguiled by the journey and were sort of going, sure, God, aren't Mayo great?
Yeah.
And God, wouldn't it be great for them? And hey, they've always put it up to the Dubs. But, like, this is no disaster of a year for them.
Well, they've won the league.
They won the league.
Now,
but
you can't be getting beaten by Roscommon if you've aspirations of winning the All-Ireland, because...
But that's what I'm saying, Shane. I don't think...
route just keeps
But this is what I'm saying. I'm not sure that they had like, legitimate aspirations for an All-Ireland. Like, they're undergoing the very, very necessary transformation. They're, you know, in year one of Horan's second spell, he has won a league and he has brought on at least 3 and maybe up to 4 or 5 new guys. Like, those 12 minutes after half-time last night, Fionn McDonagh was on the pitch, James Carr was on the pitch, Matty Rowan was on the pitch. That has got to be that's got to be the first day of the rest of their lives, really. They are going to be, they have to be what Mayo build on for the next 5, 6 years. So you take those 3 guys, they're whatever, 22, 23. Paddy Durkin's 24, Stephen Cohen's 23, Killian is 27, Aidan O'Shea is 29. Of course, they have guys over 30, but Lee Keegan's still only 29. They have the court. They will be back in the Super 8s next year.
A lot of those young lads you named, they did get absolutely run off the road.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, so did Jack McCaffrey and Paul Mannion and Kieran Kilkenny when Donegal beat Dublin in 2014. You know, you like, life is getting these hidings. You know, everybody gets a hiding. You know, you're not going to get through an inter-county career without finding out at the worst possible moment what it's about. And they found it out. Like, they were on that pitch as Brian Fenton was absolutely lording it over everybody. And so Matthew Rowan has to be, when he thinks about life in the next week, next days, months or whatever, has to be going, right, so that's what it is. And, you know, it's totally unfair to expect Matthew Rowan coming back from a collarbone to be able to live with that. But he was on the pitch. He had the best view of it of any of us. And so if as everybody in Mayo hopes, he has a 10-year career in the middle of the Mayo midfield, then this weekend has to be a foundation stone of it. And they will get older. They will get more players through. Jeremy O'Connor's another who's only whatever age he is. He's only 24, 25. These guys have the sort of Mayo future in their hands. Horan has to find more of them. Needs to sort out the keeper kind of thing, but you're always going to be saying that about Mayo. They are, look, they're going to be back in the Super 8s next year. Who's going to want to play them? Monaghan, Armagh, any of these teams, do they really want to be playing Mayo? Do you really want to go into Castlebar for the last game of the Super 8s, having to win it to get to an All-Ireland semi-final? Like, the more, you know, all of this is informed by the fact that, yeah, they're going to be there, but look, fucking sore Dublin, and Dublin are, you know, but you kind of have to park that. Everybody has to do their own thing.
For all the good, like, and for all the players he's developed, you'd still wonder, when they're only coming back from injury against Dublin, do you start Matthew Rowan, who I actually thought was good in the first half, and Dermot O'Connor, who's just back, who I don't really think felt the weight of the ball too much. You know,
you gotta go. Look, you've got to have a plan. Like, your plan, you have to throw out whoever. You've got to play your best hand. You've got to try and be in the game. They were in the game at half time, Shane. We were all here going, this can happen. As it turned out, it wasn't Matthew Rowan's fault or James Carr's fault or Fionn McDonagh's. Their second most recent footballer of the year couldn't handle Con O'Callaghan. That's nothing to do with the young lads, or nothing to do with lads coming back from injury. It's Lee Keegan is probably not a last line of defence man marker. He has other brilliant qualities, as he showed when he was taking his goal, but he couldn't handle Conor Callaghan in close quarters, and there you go.
Thanks very much, Malachy.
Anytime.